Well, that's a funny little grip. There we go. Ah, good evening. It's been a long day and I'm a little tired. But it's May 25th, 2026, and you're now watching Roasting the Press. My name's Chuck Black. I'm with my partner in crime, who's much better rested than me, Richard Gagnon. Richard, how's it going?
Not too bad. I'm a little bit tired myself. Dealing with all these generators and things like that. but I'm going to try and get another one working tomorrow.
Okay.
Yeah, it's and the weather here has been not as hot as I was expecting it to be, but it's nice.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was I don't know if I should be happy or what, but I got the impression that while the morning was cold where I am, the afternoon is 17 above out, and it might be equal to where you are, maybe even a bit warmer.
It sounds about the same temperature. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Well, you look relaxed. You look raring to go.
Oh yeah.
Pardon me?
Oh yeah.
We are at a different day and at a different time tonight. We will be doing this for at least 2 weeks. Hopefully, we will get the hang of it over the next little while. Shall we go on to our first piece?
Let's do that.
Here is something I want to talk about. This is the first part of a two-part piece we're doing tonight. And I wanted to start out tonight with a little bit of propaganda, at least as the Liberal Party defines it. And here is something I kind of like. It's the May 17th Real West Jones on YouTube post under the title Brookfield's Greenwashed Blues. Here we go.
He came from the Bank of England with a climate crown so bright. You went in, boy, preaching net zero morning, noon, and night. Then he walked through Brookfield's door in 2020, y'all. Vice chair of ESG, head of transition, answering the call. Raised $15 billion for the Global Transition Fund. Clean energy dreams while the carry kept on coming round. 6.8 million in options, expiring 33. Carried interest on that fund till the 2030s, maybe more for thee. Oh, it's Brookfield's Greenwashed Blues. Sing it loud and sing it true. Preaching carbon zero while the dams keep rolling through. From Toronto towers to New York, they made the move. Now the PM's got skin in the game. What's a fella to do? Indigenous rights in the crosshairs, forests falling down, elite transition hustle from the bank to the crown. Mississauga First Nation, 4 dams on the river flow. $100 million lawsuit, fishing grounds laid low. Spills and floods and no benefit share, they say it plain. While the chair of ESG was busy building his name. Columbia's way, you block the wind farm, no consent they cry. Sogamoso Dam bringing damage, ecosystems die. Brazil's Amazon edges, deforestation claims so bold. Global witness pointed fingers, slave labor finds of old. Oh, it's Brookfield's Greenwashed Blues. Walk back the net zero claim when the experts called it bluff. Avoided emissions magic, but the fossils still got love. Head office packed for New York while he held the chair. Critics say he played a role, now denying everywhere. As prime minister now, with policies in his hand. Nuclear infra, AI data, Brookfield's promised land. Epic screens got loopholes, only 5% it covers tight. Broad class rules let the benefits flow into the night. Options in the blind trust carry locked away, but every Brookfield win still lights up his payday. From central banker to base to the PMO seat. The revolving door keeps spinning to the same old beat. Yeah, Brookfield's Greenwashed blues. The facts are there to see. 6.8 in options and carry on that 15 beat. Dams in Ontario, forests in Brazil. Hypocrisy on climate while the prophets climb the hills. So raise a glass to transition or cry foul on the game. The country songs exposing it. You decide who's to blame. Twain Brookfield's Greenwashed blues.
What'd you think,
That's-
Richard?
It's a great tune. I like it, but some of the words I didn't like.
what part don't you like?
I was really promoting what Carnage is doing right now.
Yeah, but I don't think it's promoting it in a very nice way, is it?
No, but it's still putting a nice tune to that. It's
Yeah.
it's sort of like the Alberta separation one.
Well, I like the Alberta separation one better, but I
Yeah.
thought this was propaganda that on some of my LinkedIn channels, members of the Liberal Party are calling propaganda. They say it's full of lies. It's full of it's inappropriate. We should be getting all of our news not from articles like this, not from fancy songs like this, but by the recognized CRA accredited journalists who will tell us what's really going on.
Right. Yeah. Right.
And that's why I put it out there tonight. I just thought it was a good thing to cause a little bit of trouble.
Yeah. Well, it did. I think it does.
Yeah. I wanted to carry on a little bit in this line of things because I don't think it's propaganda. As a matter of fact, I would argue that the May 17th, 2026 post under the title Brookfield's Greenwashed Blues could be considered legitimate political commentary. And I would argue that the video criticizes former Bank of England governor and Prime Minister Mark Carney's ties to Brookfield Asset Management. The song alleges conflicts of interest, greenwashing on net zero and climate change policies, personal financial benefits. He's got 6.8 million in stock options officially, and he gets interest on a $15 billion global transition fund, which has got to be something really substantial for his retirement. And the song also talks about a lot of environmental controversies linked to Brookfield projects. And I would argue that the video uses exaggeration, uses humor, uses music, uses animation in ways typical of political satire. And the creator explicitly labels it satirical in his YouTube post. And he notes the facts referenced in the video all come from public records, all come from news reports. And then he says, viewers must decide for themselves if this is an appropriate way to make fun of the prime minister. Now, this kind of fits a pattern of Canadian political commentary. It critiques perceived elites, Carney in particular, but also Doug Ford, like there, and other people. It critiques corporate political overlaps, makes fun of Brookfield. And Brookfield and Carney have faced real-world greenwashing accusations from environmental groups, media outlets, and experts over their process of counting emissions, over the process of they've got a lot of fossil fuel holdings, especially when compared to the renewables that Brookfield's running. And there's also specific projects that nobody particularly likes that I think were highlighted in this video. Now, propaganda typically implies systematic, often state-backed or deceptive promotion of a specific ideology or agenda with manipulated facts. There's Adolf Hitler in an entire web page, the Encyclopedia of Satire, talking about political cartoons. So this is something well recognized. And this is something that's very common in democratic societies. Like the opposition cartoons we showed a little bit earlier, like protest songs of an earlier age, or even late night comedy skits. Although I would argue that the comedy skits on Letterman were substantially better than the comedy skits on late night these days. That's why late night's dying. Now the song, I checked this out. This is the neat part. The song is very likely protected under fair dealing exemptions in the Copyright Act of 1985, which has been updated once or twice since. But the Copyright Act explicitly allows for parody, explicitly allows for satire, it explicitly allows for criticism, and it explicitly allows for review. And these are all those things, all the things that the Carney video we're making fun of. Now, according to Canadian copyright law, satire, parody, criticism of public figures and policies on a matter of public interest, something like climate policy, political conflict, corporate influence, these are explicitly allowed under the fair dealing provisions of the Canadian Copyright Act. So this is not propaganda. The Copyright Act also allows for original songs or 3D animations or new lyrics or new compositions commenting on facts, not mere copy. And criticism, critique, parody explicitly allows for the use of short excerpts or references to public information. And that's what this song's about. I would also argue that this song doesn't use anything in copyright or in public or in private domain. Everything is pretty obvious in the public domain here. And finally, there is no evidence it substitutes for any original work. I'd argue that the commentary in that video could even drive discussion and public interest and political accountability, which is explicitly, again, allowed under the Canadian Copyright Act. In short, the 3-minute video we just saw is protected satire, political commentary. It draws on documented liberal government and Mark Carney controversies. Well, a lot of liberals I've been talking to over the last week might not believe my assessment. But, well, to be fair, since 2021, they've objected to anybody criticizing them. Their platform since 2021 has explicitly included protecting us, the public, from what they perceive of as being online harms. Richard, how's my diatribe? Did it convince you that it was a useful song?
Oh yeah, it did. You did good in convincing me.
Thank you. What do you think? Do you think that I mean? There's
Thinking back about the song when it was played there, I thought at times it was basically trying to promote Carnage's agenda, but no, it's not.
No, it's explicitly coming out against Carney's agenda, but it's saying it in a nice way with a cute tune that you can dance to.
Yeah, and I like the tune.
You're a country fan at heart.
Yeah.
What do you think of Bill C-11? I've been told explicitly that it's supposed to protect us against online harms like this.
Oh, all
Or
that stuff,
C22, I'm sorry.
that's all subjective. I mean, who creates those words and who interprets them? It just makes no sense. I mean, Online Harms Act is nothing but another act for the play. That's all it is.
maybe. So you think this is a tempest in a teapot?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay, I think that's fair. I am now gonna go into the punchline. This is explicit legislation designed to control our thoughts. And, and I got to tell you that, I don't know, according to the May 23rd Canadian Shareable News Substack post, under the title Bill Tracker as Internet Privacy Watchdog Flags Canadian 7 times in 1 month. Committee meetings on Bill C-22 continue. This is about the amount of Reclaim the Net posts over the last month that have commented on Canadian censorship initiatives. Reclaim the Net is US based, and frankly, there is a growing international awareness of the Canadian government making increasingly onerous legislation to restrict online activities. Now, the Shareable News Substack post notes that, like I said before, Reclaim the Net is a service that sometimes we include in the right-hand column on Freedom Forum. It's one of those things that I often use for references. Anyway, Canadian Shareable News notes that Reclaim the Net, which is focused around online free speech, privacy, and liberty issues, has flagged 7 federal government statements and censorship legislation stories in May 2026 alone. Now, according to Shareable News, the advocates for freedom of speech at Reclaim the Net usually flagged 1 or 2 news stories from Canada every 1 or 2 months. But this month, May's not over yet, but this month, they note 7 Canadian news items from April 18th to May 20th, just within the last month. Now, the last time Canadian news stories made news on the Reclaim the Net platform 7 times in 1 month was a year ago in January 2025.
July.
Now, the stories, pardon me?
July.
Yeah, okay. Newest story is the May 20th, 2026 post. Use the VPN, says Canadian government, the same Canadian government that wants VPN logs. Now, that story notes the contradictory nature of many government online safety discussions. We talked about this last week about how the Canadian government wants a backdoor into all VPNs sold in Canada so they can collect all the information. I also note from May 20th, the Post, Canadian military punished whistleblowers who flagged illegal COVID speech monitoring. That post notes that the Canadian Armed Forces reprimanded soldiers who warned that in order to spy on citizens sharing COVID-19 could violate intelligence gathering rules. And while the soldiers were right legally, the military punished them anyway. They lost pay, they lost rank, they were disciplined, which is kind of problematic. Now, then we go back to the May 15th post. Canada says critics don't understand its surveillance bill. This was a claim made by Public Safety Minister Gary Andrasanjani. I hope I pronounced that right. It's a claim he made at a press conference earlier this month when he claimed that Bill C-22 did not need to bypass explicit software encryption to ensure that all online data is accessible to government agencies for 1 year after it was posted. He's obviously wrong. Some of his aides corrected him afterwards, but that shows you how little the people proposing this legislation know about it. Now, many tech companies have disagreed with Gary's assessment, and they have promised to leave the country if Bill C-22 is enacted. That's a slight aside. There was also the May 14th, 2026 post, Canada's pay-to-play press pass, which discussed Prime Minister Carney's participation in a confidential federal meeting about which reporters should receive government accreditation and which reporters should be shut out. Guess which side Rebel News was on? Now, the rest of it,
Guess which side Rebel News is on,
yeah. Sorry about that. Now, the conversation focused around 3 Canadian Revenue Agency Qualified Canadian Information Organization designations. Qualified Canadian Journalism Organization designation is a program that Canada Revenue Agency uses to distribute federal subsidies to approved news outlets. The budget last year for this subsidy is about $65 million, primarily to fund people who consider themselves to be journalists. And according to the Post, the government turned a tax classification into a press credential. If your outlet takes government money, you're legitimate. If it doesn't, you're not supposed to be talked to, which I thought was kind of amusing. Going back a little further, there's the May 11th, 2026 post. Anonymous Canadian sues Department of Homeland Security in the U.S. to stop Google from revealing his identity over critical posts. This story notes that the Canadian government's data collection legislation can be used by foreign governments legally to target Canadian citizens. So if the Canadian government collects your data, the Americans, the Brits, the Australians, and any one of a number of other people, probably the Israelis as well, they also get your data. Now, the last one is a goodie. No, my apologies. This is the second last one. Here is the second last one. Canadian House of Commons tracks online posts about all MPs. Now, that story notes that Parliament will not say what's in the database, only that it sorts your online posts by their tone. So hopefully we're in the good side of that list. And then a little bit further back, there is the May 2nd post. Cybersecurity experts demand Canada scrap Bill C-22. Backdoor, that post notes that the bill that promises not to surveil Canadians requires the surveillance of Canadians and a year of every Canadian's location data to sit on private servers just in case they need it. Now, one of the strongest critics of Bill C-22 is Michael Geist, a professor at the University of Ottawa. And his May 23rd post, the government tries to make the case for Bill C-22, why its own use cases reveal disproportionate overreach. Now, Geist gives an overview of why Bill C-22 is such a legal overreach, and I sort of think it's well worth reading. There's also the May 22nd Justice Center for Constitutional Freedoms post. 43,000 Canadians call on Parliament Hill to stop a Bill C-22 surveillance legislation. That post notes that at least one petition has been presented to Parliament calling on MPs to defeat Bill C-22. It's perhaps not as good as the petition that went to the Alberta legislature a couple of weeks back, but it's enough to get some notoriety. Finally, the Canadian Shareable News Post reference at the beginning of this piece has done an excellent job of listing most major legacy and some new media comments on the bill, as well as covering the ongoing kerfuffle. As I recall, tomorrow Parliament reconvenes. I perhaps diatribe too much. Richard looks like he's dropped off for a moment there. Anyway, the article is absolutely worth checking out. I think there's a lot of stuff going on regarding propaganda in the Canadian Parliament these days. You want to come on for a while, Marianne?
Oh dear. Okay, I'm not really dressed for it, but I'm on. Okay.
Sit down. Sit down. We lost Richard for a second.
I look terrible, but I'm right here. Okay.
You're right
Okay.
here. We were talking about all the propaganda that the government is pushing out. There's been several articles.
The
The government's pushing out
propaganda,
and the government's pushing out legislation to make sure it's the only organization that can push out propaganda.
I see. So it's taking down all of the other propaganda pushers.
It is.
Yeah.
Justice Center for Constitutional Freedoms
Yeah.
is sent out a petition. What was it? Cybersecurity experts are leaving the country unless we kill Bill C-22. And the Canadian House of Commons tracks online posts about all their MPs. They track it by tone. So if we're happy and cheerful, maybe we're on the good side of the tone.
So who evaluates the tone?
Well, I would suggest CSIS or the RCMP.
They evaluate the tone. So, for example, how you enunciate a word and your intonation, they might say you're saying it with anger, and therefore you're arrested, or you're saying it with happiness, therefore you're promoted.
The short answer is absolutely yes.
So it goes by opinion,
It does.
which is very interesting because it goes into some other sciences based on opinion too.
Yes,
Just like the mental health professional, for example,
absolutely.
all based on opinion.
Yes.
Wow. Interesting.
There's also Canadian military punished whistleblowers who flagged illegal COVID speech monitoring. The government monitors in the military said that, we're really not supposed to track this speech. And the military said, nuts to you, they were disciplined. And the government kept doing it.
Wow.
So there's a lot of weird stuff going on here.
I just gotta grab my Google goggles because you took off the screen. Hang on a second.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I'll put them back on.
Oh no, you took off. If you take off Octave Shield, then I get Blu-ray.
Oh, sorry about
That's
that.
okay.
Anyway, what do you think of the government's ongoing pressure to control the net, keep people like you and I out? And Richard, it looks like.
Well, it's a narrative, okay? Richard made a point about who actually writes these laws.
Yeah.
Probably 2 or 3 lawyers who are trained. I've known a couple of these people.
Okay.
So they all they do is sit in the background in these rooms
Mhm.
and they devise how to write legislation in a way to however it fits them to whether it entraps you, whether it frees some people and traps others. It's all very carefully constructed language.
Uh-huh.
In the background is what they're doing.
They're doing that.
Yes.
But why do you think they're doing that?
Well,
Do they just not like being teased?
what do you mean?
A lot of these things, Bill C-22 in particular, tracks your online behavior.
Mm-hmm.
They seem to not like you saying bad things about the government.
Mm-hmm.
They seem to want to preserve a certain narrative of how everything is.
Well, yes. I mean, the government, as it stands, wants to be is worried about the people losing confidence in it,
Mm-hmm.
which is understandable because a large number of people are losing confidence in it.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, doing more than questioning it. So, in order to compensate, it's having to go to this length, which makes you wonder. We think the government protests us too much.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think the Carney insists that even though the ethics commissioner says that he really should get rid of all those secret Brookfield accounts he owns, Carney says that he should be okay. Everything should be good. And there's been legitimate examples over the last year or so of Prime Minister Mark Carney doing things that directly seem to benefit Brookfield. I mean, he'd get a commission if he was still on staff there.
So if you were to say that, what would be Bill C-22 then? What would apply to you by saying what you just said? Is there something in Bill
Bill C-22 is an online tracking act.
So what would it track for what you just said?
Everything any one of us says online is kept on file for over a year.
So if you were discussing, for example, is it Bloomberg?
Bloomberg.
Brookfield.
Yeah.
So if you
Brookfield.
Brookfield. So if you're discussing government shares in Brookfield and questioning it, so where in C, I can't even keep these straight. C-22 would they? What part of it would they then look into your commentary?
They would essentially track our behavior. They track individuals.
I'm not commenting on it.
That's what all these giant data centers are for.
I'm not commenting.
They're supposed to track our everything we do, and if we get out of line, who knows? It may end up like England over the next couple of years, where if you say something that somebody doesn't like online, you get killed, or you get thrown in jail, or you get the police coming to talk to you.
It's not a very nice idea.
No, it isn't. It certainly frightens the crap out of me.
Well, maybe it might be good if Richard comes back on for the two of you to sort of go through C-22 and maybe find the particular passages and areas which could affect people in the alternative media, because some of the people watching might be interested if they have alternative media channels.
I agree with that. We are going to include citations for everything we mentioned tonight. We're also going to include some citations. Something that happened just as I was going on the air. This is a Google post that came out a couple of hours ago. Let me see if I can pull it up on the screen. Video, share screen. There it is. This is a copy of a letter Google lawyers sent to the Canadian government regarding Canada's Bill C-22. According to Table Salt T113, online on X, he says that Google lawyers have added in a recommendation provision to Canada Bill C-22. They're not really allowed to add it in, but they recommend that Canadian government ministers and legislations adhere to international laws with their ministerial orders. And they suggest that requiring the law to be in to adhere to international orders effectively kills the bill.
What can the public or what can the people do if they want to provide feedback to the government about what they think about the bill? What can they do?
Well, the easiest thing to do is call your MP's office and give them feedback, particularly if the MP is a Liberal.
Right.
I would also suggest, way back here, we mentioned just a little while back, the Justice Center for Constitutional Freedoms. They have a petition that they presented to Parliament earlier today that they're hoping will go for a while. Richard, are you back?
He's
are you
back.
okay?
Yeah, my entire power system went down here.
It was CSIS.
Right about this time, I got to tell you that I was trying to do the show notes for last week, and I put them up 3 times over the last few days, and they kept dying on me. And we talked about Bill C-22 in that episode as well. But are you okay? Is the power back up and functioning?
Well, I've been running 2 generators right now.
Oh dear. Do you have enough power to go through the rest of the show, or do we have to wind up quick?
Let's try it, but it's the batteries that are the ones that are being killed off here.
Okay, no problem. I was showing Marianne, who was in the kitchen. I dragged her out so I could have someone to talk with, so forgive me for that. Google just put a piece on X earlier today, recommending, in addition to the recommended provision in Canada's Bill C-22, they're asking that it be required that Canadian government ministers adhere to international law with their ministerial orders. And they argue that this would effectively kill the bill because the methodology the Canadian government is using, effectively killing VPNs, effectively requiring the data to be in storage for a year, that goes against international norms, and that's what Google's recommended. What do you think?
Yeah, well, I'm seeing all this stuff is just going to go right down the tubes because they're trying to do things outside of the practice of allowing freedom of speech, allowing freedom to the people, trying to get big corporations to stifle them.
I agree with that 100%. They're obviously, they want to control the narrative. They want to have their own buddies as accredited journalists, paid extra by the CRA. That is a barrier to entry for new players, and just this stuff does cause me a certain amount of concern.
Why is the CRA involved in this anyways? They're just strictly dealing with supposedly with the illegal taxes.
In 2021, I believe it was, the CRA was mandated to create something called where is it? A qualified Canadian journalism organization designation. And this is a program Canada Revenue Agency uses to distribute federal subsidies to approved news outlets. Almost half of all people in legacy media who are considered journalists in the country get half, some people think more, of their wages every year directly from the federal government. Now, according to the 2024-2025 budget, $65 million went through that program that year. Now, the government is trying not to talk to anybody who's not an accredited journalist organization. Now, the government has turned essentially a tax classification into a press credential. If your outlet takes government money, you're legitimate and they will talk to you. If it doesn't, they don't want to talk to you. And that's what why the CRA is involved.
Hey, I tell you.
Yeah, they hide the reasons for the CRA accreditation behind confidentiality agreements in CRA legislation. So that gives them an excuse not to tell anybody why they didn't give CRA accredited journalism designations to places like Rebel News.
So that means that the IRS is CRA is very much like the IRS, where we're controlling everything.
Absolutely. I think that's absolutely correct. I think the CRA is everybody got to pay taxes mostly.
Okay.
I don't want to get you in trouble with that. Remember, they're tracking everything we say.
Oh, of course. And I don't really give a rat's ass. If they want to keep their nose up my butt, that's fine.
Still, it'd be nice to have a little bit more money. It'd be nice to compete on a level playing field against the CBC or the National Post or the Globe and Mail or the Toronto Sun or the Star. And it'd be nice to have more of the macaroni every once in a while.
Yep, I agree.
Any more comments before we wind down to the last piece?
We might as well wind down to the last piece. Is that mine?
That's yours. Food, water, and oxygen, I think you want to talk about.
Oh yeah, yeah. When I found this, I thought this was really interesting. I should pass this on to the people.
Huh. We are going to do this a little differently tonight because for some reason, I had a lot of tech problems this week, but for some reason, the piece that you gave me didn't queue up properly. So I'm going to try and bring it up this way, and then we're going to start it.
Okay.
Did it work? Yes, it did. Here we go. The May 16th, Mungo Minds on BitChute post, food, water, and oxygen are forms of natural capital. Here we go.
Every aspect of every part of the economy is fundamentally dependent on nature, as you highlighted. The air that we breathe, the water we drink, the soil, the oceans that we need for the food that we need to consume, the minerals that we need as inputs to technology and to infrastructure. And without these forms of value, these forms of natural capital, we won't have economies. They are the fundamental building blocks of our economies. But the ways, as you said, the ways in which we have grown our economies, our models of economic development have been incredibly successful for global prosperity. I mean, but the unintended consequences of current models of growth are simply not sustainable on a finite planet. The amount of resource that we are drawing into our economies, Earth's resources, and the amount of pollution and waste that we're pumping out, whether that's through greenhouse gas emissions, whether that's sewage into our water, whether it's plastics into the ocean, is beyond the Earth's carrying capacity. And we know that that's leading, as you said, to very significant direct impacts for society, but very significant financial costs for the economy. We can look at that as you have and calculate that at a macro level. But the way that that's showing up as we're breaching these boundaries and breaching these limits and undermining nature is showing up in very practical ways that are showing up for financial risk for institutions. Lack of water is leading to disruption of operations, of supply chains where water is needed as an essential input for manufacturing or power production. The degradation of soil is leading to reduced agricultural yields. The decline of pollinator species is also having an impact on agriculture. So that's leading to direct financial risks for organizations, for businesses, and ultimately for investors. And as you said, ultimately the reason for this is at the moment, the way that decisions are made on an everyday level within businesses and financial institutions is because we're looking only at financial data, financial metrics that are not factoring in nature. Nature is treated within the economy as though it's unlimited and predominantly as though it's free. And the risks and harms are simply not costed in financial terms. We can cost them at a macro level. They're not costed into day-to-day decision-making. And the result is, as a consequence, we've put all of our economies at fundamental risk. We can't do business on a dead planet. If we're going to protect natural systems, one of the solutions is to bring nature onto the balance sheet, to bring nature into the ways that decisions are made within business, to allocate a value to it and to bring it into accounting and financial mechanisms.
I'm hoping they can bring nature into my balance sheet, not theirs.
Well, they're trying to justify taxing the people more, making the people pay for everything that is currently deemed to be free, like air, water, food. Those are all deemed to be free for the free people.
Yeah, I think they are seizing everything they can get their hands on and refusing to give any of it back to us. Even the air we breathe is being claimed by the WEF, Brookfield Asset Management, the people who go to Davos every year.
Yep. They're just trying to take everything away from the people. Just basically, they're revolving everything around money.
Yes.
Now that money has no value, I don't know why they're even bothering with that. But they probably figure it still has value.
Well, historically, when money loses all value, the large landowners, the rich people, the political leaders, wrap their flag around the resources, which they scoop with the rapidly depreciating money.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that part I do understand,
Yes.
but I think it's I don't know how to get around that. At some point, there'll be enough people with guns to object to it.
Yep, the people will finally start to realize that they've been hoodwinked into all this stuff.
Mm-hmm. Not a lot of people believe they're being hoodwinked. To be fair, there's not a lot of people who believe anything these days, it seems like. They don't believe that we're running out of oil because there's a war in the Middle East and there's been no war. There's been no oil coming to markets for a couple of months. Same goes with potash and all sorts of resources. People don't understand that the resources are being pulled off the market.
Yeah, I know. And it's a sad state of affairs right now. It's a good thing that we're wise to them.
I don't know how wise I am to it. I'm not quite sure I'm going to survive it. I can see it coming. I know it's coming. One of the reasons why we moved into the country was so we'd be better able to deal with it.
Right. Yeah. You won't have as many of the criminal aspects in the country.
Yes. But for all it's worth, my truck still runs on gasoline. I need gasoline. And just, if I was smart, I would have got one of those old Chevy trucks that run on alcohol.
Yeah.
And I think that would have been a good idea right now. We got 3 or 4 months before all sorts of weird things start to happen.
Yeah. We're going to be our news shows are going to be rather interesting in the next little while.
Yeah, I agree with that. Speaking of which, we are doing this show on Monday for this week and next week, because I'm on Monday this next week, and then we're gonna go back to doing shows on Sunday and Monday, I think, or maybe Monday and Tuesday. I think right now we have to work something out. Working a day job is something I'm out of practice doing.
Right.
But we are going to do another episode of Roasting the Press next Monday at 8 p.m. Assuming I'm tired too. Assuming Richard and I can stay awake for it.
Yeah.
But until then, what's on your plate for next week?
Let's see now. Tomorrow I got the 8 stories lined up for tomorrow. It took me most of the day to do that. Get them ready. And then, of course, Wednesday I'm traveling. Thursday, Friday, I've got my morning show again. And then we come back to next Monday.
We'll be back next Monday. And your shows are available on the web pages scrolling along underneath my chin.
Yeah.
And they start every morning at 7:30 a.m. Pacific time, Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. See, after all that time, I'm finally getting some of this stuff correct. As for Roasting the Press, we will be back next Monday at 8 p.m. And, we normally record every Sunday night, although we're going to Monday night at 8 p.m. On a variety of internet platforms, including the one you're watching. We try to publish the show the next day, but we lost last week's episode until earlier this morning, but we try to republish the next day. And we have notes on our Substack page at chuckblack.substack.com. And most of our stuff slides behind a paywall after a month online. So if you'd like to maintain access, the easiest thing to do is to sign up for a monthly subscription. $20 a month, $160 per year. This entitles you to access archived posts, anything over a month old, plus includes lots of in-depth articles not covered in our regular shows. And we also have a Substack app to help you access Freedom stories from your phone, and subscriber chat so that you can tell us what you really, really want. And well, my name's Chuck Black. I directed this show using StreamYards, which we recommend, but only if you sign up using either Richard's or my link. We get a little bonus out of this at the end of each month to help defray some of our costs. And Marianne came aboard at the last minute, and I thought she was pretty good. She more asked me questions than anything else, but I thought that was a nice bit of a challenge.
I didn't do much because it's worried about C-22.
Yeah, she didn't know about Bill C-22. That's why she kept asking questions. But that was a nice bit of a challenge. Richard, I deeply appreciate everything you do for this show every night. You sit there. You're a fairly wonderful straight man, and I'm sorry you dropped off for like the middle portion of it tonight. We will get the hang of it next week for sure.
Well, it's because I got dead batteries here, people.
What's your email address right now? Is it Richard Gagnon at protonmail.com? Richard J. Gagnon.
Yeah, Richard J. Gagnon.
We need batteries so Richard can do an entire roasting the press and an entire last week today when we get back to our regular schedule. He's very lucky now being in BC in the summer or in the spring, but fall will come. Winter will come, just like on that TV show from a couple of years back.
Yeah.
But we could all use a little bit of help this week for sure. Send money orders. Send transfers to Richard J. Gagnon at protonmail.com.
Yep, that'll help a lot. I've got some newer old batteries that I'm going to be putting on in the next week or two to get rid of the big old beasts that I've got right now. And as soon as I find out how much I can get for recycling fees for those, that will help get the new system put up and running.
Do you have any solar cells in your house?
Oh yeah, I got 4 big panels, and I'm running off the panels right now, but they don't, for some reason, something's not working right in the system. I think it's because of the generator that I was using. I've got one big powerful generator, which doesn't seem to be powerful enough. It doesn't regulate the power properly. And then when I died off tonight there, I went and plugged into the smaller generator, which seems to have a more stable power regulation, and it's been running ever since. So
that is what the hey. We gotta learn to take care of ourselves, and that's what you're doing right now. I live in a house that's on the grid, and you know, one day the power will all be gone, and I'll have to learn all those lessons.
Yeah, it's best to learn them in advance.
Anyway, I'm done for the night. Did I miss anything? Did we miss it? We missed you, Richard. Other than that,
you missed me for a little bit.
Okay. We will see you next Monday on another edition of Roasting the Press at 8 p.m. And I look forward to seeing your stories Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, beginning at 7:30 Pacific time. Good night, Richard.
Good night.